Hi, I'm Dierdre Rae. I've had symptoms of OCD for as long as I can remember. I was 19 when I got diagnosed because I had to drop out of college because the decline of my mental state was so severe that I had to go into a treatment center for my OCD. I was unable to cope with daily life, do simple little tasks, and let alone just communicate properly with people. It was that bad. I've also had multiple subtypes of OCD like contamination OCD, magical thinking, health OCD, scrupulosity, but the one I want to talk to today is more surrounded around food. I've been open with other videos that I've done with NOCD about how my OCD has affected my eating disorders and how I truly believe that I either wouldn't have had any eating disorders if I didn't have OCD, or at the very least it would not have affected them as severely as it did. And a huge thing that my OCD targeted were certain foods and food groups and my ability of choosing what I could and couldn't eat. A huge one for me that caused me to go vegetarian and vegan for a huge chunk of my adolescent life was the fear of food poisoning. I had no idea how common these symptoms were amongst the OCD community, but it's something that I thought about almost every meal that had meat in it or that was being reheated. I still to this day have to push past the uncomfortable feeling or gross, awful, intrusive thoughts that come into my brain while I'm eating. If I specifically have cooked the meat, or I've eaten out at a restaurant and didn't see the date of the packaging, or I've ordered in, or I have reheated rice especially, that, to be honest, is a bit of a new one for me because I didn't realize that you needed to heat rice a certain way. I'll start eating and my intrusive thoughts are like, you're gonna get food poisoning, like, spit it out, spit it out. What's so funny about this OCD fear is that I actually had really, really bad food poisoning when I was younger because I had too much lobster. That was not the catalyst of it. I was pretty good for a few years after that. This just kind of came out of nowhere with one intrusive thought that came and stuck. Nothing necessarily happened. I just actively started worrying more and more about it. And then when I wasn't worrying about it, I was worried that I wasn't worrying about it. But this one happened a bit more gradually, I'd say. It also, this specific fear never controlled my entire life. This one wasn't as distressing as some of my other OCD subtypes. To me, for some people, it is brutal. The thoughts that come into my head when I'm eating meat, especially typically like chicken, is if you eat this, you're going to get food poisoning. Or if there's anything that's a little off about the chicken, maybe it's a little chewy or there's a different spice, immediately my brain is convincing me that I'm actively getting sick as we speak. So what I would do is sometimes I would order chicken and then I would take a few bites, have the intrusive thought, and I wouldn't eat the rest of the chicken, or I would eat one or two more bites and then just eat the sides. If I was cooking chicken, it would always be overcooked, and I would be lying if I said that was not still the case. I remember when I was younger asking my mom multiple times if the chicken was actually all the way cooked. Are you sure it's safe to eat? Just, asking for reassurance. On top of OCD, I was in general already kind of a picky eater. And as my eating disorder got stronger, there were definitely elements of that as well. It started becoming a lot more intense as I got older and my eating disorder started getting worse. I would purposely avoid all meat and fish. There was a period of time from about 2018 to 2022 where everyone thought I was a vegetarian. I had an ex, and when I met him, he was vegetarian. And I remember us bonding over the fact that, I was very vegetarian in my eating tendencies and he was just, fully vegetarian. He would see my lunch every day and he was like, I assumed that you were vegetarian. I actually think somebody told him I was vegetarian. Don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that happened. I told him that I wasn't vegetarian, but I was just too scared to cook meat. I didn't trust myself. And I was like, I just think I'm going to give myself food poisoning. Since I was around 11, I've thrown out multiple meals due to my intrusive thoughts that I had while eating. And when I have them, it's really hard for me to finish the meal because it's stuck in there. And every single bite I have, I'm fixating on it. It's I feel like I'm genuinely eating poison. That's how it feels. And I'm going to be 100% honest. And I leaned into it during my eating disorder days because I'm like, oh, I'm eating less. There was one time during my eating disorder phase where keto was such a massive thing, and I tried keto for I don't even think a week, and I was fully a vegan for I think 6 months to a year after straight. I feel like that week of keto was exposure therapy in itself because I had already been practicing exposure therapy, so I had been doing, that kind of stuff, and that though was more eating disorder phase and very much not an active exposure. I just don't know what I was thinking there, to be honest. That was in 2018, and at that point, that was the second time that I had been vegan. I had been vegetarian for a year and then vegan for 6 months before that. I had just been vegetarian basically on and off for years at that point. I wish I could sit here and say it was for the animals. It wasn't even for health. If I'm being 100% honest, it was completely based in losing weight and fear of food poisoning, all heavily influenced by my eating disorder. I'm going to be completely transparent with you and say that it's not something I'm fully over yet. I still actively struggle with it, not in the way where it controls or dictates my life. And I definitely don't let it dictate whether I finish a meal or if I cook a meal, but it's definitely there, and the intrusive thoughts can definitely impact enjoying the meal. What would typically happen is I order a takeout, enjoying my life, and then I get an overwhelming intrusive thought telling me to like spit out my food or like the food's gone bad, and it feels so real, right? Thankfully, it does not happen very often anymore because I keep on pushing through and eating the meal, and typically the next day I'm obviously fine, but I will sometimes just sit there actively waiting to throw up. But I will make a point to finish the meal, or at the very least eat until I'm not hungry anymore and save the rest for later. I have also started cooking my own meat, which is kind of exposure therapy, but I still only do minced meat, or if I boil chicken, I have to shred it and make sure that there's nothing pink. Salmon, to be honest, I just air fry, and I'm pretty good with salmon. But meat-wise, I only cook chicken and turkey, and I don't eat red meat. I have a weird thing about it. I don't know if it's OCD or if I actually just don't like it. I really am not sure. I also think I've been recently living under a rock because I just found out about rice and reheating rice properly, and that you could get massive food poisoning from rice. Researched that, and it has led to me aggressively overheating rice to a ridiculous extent, to be honest. But this is actually the first year of my life where I've ever reheated food, because I typically would just eat it cold because A, I was lazy, and B, because I was scared that I would never heat it to the point where it needed to be heated to where I wouldn't get food poisoning. I, in general, have a type B personality, so I'm always scared that I'm gonna mess up and do something silly that's gonna make me sick. I've tried doing exposure therapy by reheating the meals, but I still have the element where I have to burn my finger. Like, it has to be that hot. Like, I have to actually be like, ow, for me to consume the food, that's not pleasant, but I feel like we're still going in a step in the right direction. But I will not eat the reheated food unless my finger has been in actual physical pain. Not for long, but that's just my current situation right now. And you know what? Once again, baby steps. I wanted to end this video doing an actual exposure because I've avoided this specific fast food restaurant for probably 15 years. I've wanted to go back, but it has become emotionally contaminated for me because my childhood best friend, my sister, both got food poisoning from this place, and also one of my childhood best friends, her cousins, multiple of them have got food poisoning from that place. I'm gonna order it tonight because I remember loving their chicken fries, and no other fast food restaurant I feel like really does that. Hopefully they still have them, and hopefully I won't get food poisoning, but we'll see. If I did, to be honest, it would be funny and obviously just very ironic, but let's hope that's not the case. All right. Got the chicken fries. This is exciting. Okay, the regular fries are just all in here, so I'm gonna eat them from the bag. Oh my gosh, first bite. Could not get the sauce. It's good. It's really good. Okay, so I will check back in with you in the morning and I'll let you know. I'm glad I did this. It is 10 a.m. and I have no signs of food poisoning, so unless I do, I will come back and check in with you, but so far so good. We've eaten the fear and we're okay. So just say, once again, another win for exposure therapy. If you or somebody that you know is struggling with OCD, go to NOCD.com. All of their therapists are licensed and trained in OCD and exposure and response prevention therapy. Thank you so much for watching.